Four things. One, this weekend, Catholic schools in this archdiocese kick off Catholic Schools Week. I'm so grateful to be a part of the wonderful school we have here. I'm also grateful for all who sacrifice so much in Catholic education, right? Teachers and principals and staff and parents and kids as well who work hard to make sure our schools are not only places of great learning, but formation and love and goodness. So for all of you who sacrifice like that, teachers, in maybe a special way today, and principals, thank you, really thank you. And secondly, we are gearing up for Lent already. Yikes. You'll hear more about that soon. 3, it's been on my heart. I am just so grateful for our wonderful staff here. I don't know that any of them would be hearing this pre-recorded version, but man, what a great group. I just want the world to know how blessed I am. I want them to know how blessed I am to be working with them. And then number 4, we pre-record these homilies on Friday for a variety of reasons. You know, for some it would be maybe of help to have listen to this message before they go to church or gather in a small group to discuss these things, etc. Or in any of the ways that people use this, I'm glad. We record them on Fridays, and this Friday afternoon, because of a few unexpected kind of crises, really, I didn't get a chance to practice. So I like the content. No promises on delivery. I hope you like it too. Thanks for joining. He was worried that his wife wasn't hearing as well as she used to and thought it might be time for a hearing aid, but he really wasn't sure how to approach her. So he talked to a buddy of his, a retired doctor who gave him some coaching. Doc said, all right, here's what you might want to do. This simple test. Stand about 40 feet away, speak in a clear voice, and see if she hears you. If not, just get closer and closer until you get a response. So, all right, that evening his wife is in the kitchen looking at a recipe book, and he's in his den, and he says, I'm about 40 feet away, so let's see how this goes. In a clear voice, he asks, honey, what's for dinner? No response. So he moves into the living room entranceway there. Now he's about 25 feet away, asks again, honey, what's for dinner? Again, no response. So he goes to the kitchen entrance, and she's got her back to him, and he says again, honey, what's for dinner? Still no response. So he goes up right behind her, says, honey, what's for dinner? She turns around and says, and I just love this, Ralph, for the 4th time, chicken. Sometimes we don't even realize that we are the ones who are not hearing so well. In today's gospel, people just marvel at the words of Jesus and the power and beauty they hold. I mean, they hear Jesus. I mean, they really hear him. They're moved and they just marvel at this power and authority in his words. How about us? Do we marvel at the power in Jesus' words? Do we even want to hear him? And perhaps this more important, crucial question, do we even know that there is an incredible power in the words of Jesus that is worth hearing? It worries me that many of us have never met the real Jesus, or truly heard the power and beauty of his message. And I'll tell you with all my heart that the values for which this man stood, the values he proclaimed and lived and for which he gave his life are phenomenal. Phenomenal. I will be forever grateful for those who have taught me Jesus, really, who have showed me his way, who have helped me know that his way is worth it, who've helped me love him and what he stood for. Sadly, it's sometimes clergy or other people in full-time church work who get so enamored of religion and our rules and our way of thinking that we don't give people Jesus. We don't give people his empowering, revolutionary insight into humanity and this world. Instead of authentic Christianity, we sometimes give people churchianity. You know, maybe for many people, Jesus has been presented as being too far away, beyond our reach to access, or sadly, perhaps even worse on some level, as irrelevant. Perhaps sometimes we just relegate him only to the role of being someone to whom we call out in desperate need. I mean, well, yeah, we've just too often presented a moralizing, finger-pointing Jesus, that boring Jesus that I don't recognize and would have trouble loving. And I'm just sad, so very sad, and so sorry about that, because real Jesus, what he really stood for, amazing. 2 weeks ago, I talked about God as being omnilingual, meaning God knows every language, meaning God knows the language that is yours, that is mine, knows how to reach each of us, has a kind of a unique ringtone, so to speak, that we can learn to recognize without words, or just somehow we come to know that God knows how to do that for us, right? Then last weekend I talked about the fact that God does reach out, that God does speak, that God does call us. And that call comes all the time. Basically, do what is needed for love now. What's the next right thing, right? Well, today, the message is, it is so worth it to take that call. I don't even know how to tell you how much I appreciate what an astonishing person and teacher, and for me even hero that Jesus is. He is so worth hearing. And I feel the poverty of words now, and I know that I don't do him justice at all here. But what that man stood for and proclaimed and lived, it's just stunning. Jesus's idea of a kingdom is this new way of being in relationship with ourselves, being in relationship with each other, new way of being in relationship with all of creation, a new way of being in relationship with God. In this way, it's just flat out incredible. It's quite difficult, make no mistake about it, but it is truly life-giving. Like many schools, we'll have an open house this weekend to kick off Catholic Schools Week. At whatever school I am, I always kind of consider it a big part of my job is to make sure our school is a place where all of our kids know that the way of Jesus works. It's worth it. It is the way to have happy, joyful, meaningful lives. And I want them to see in me someone who loves Jesus and his way, who loves them, and who is happy. And that his way brings joy. And as hard as it is sometimes, it's worth it. It's worth my life. It's worth theirs. It just is. And as I said, his ways are hard, but because of the values that Jesus lived, he was the most free person ever. And for me, when all swirls around me, when life is sad or weird or scary, I deep down trust that if I cling to what Jesus lived and preached and showed me is possible, I will know life, real life. His teachings are both beautiful and liberating. Now, in all honesty, I can't say that I always listen. There are parts of me that don't always want to hear everything that he says and invites. But when I am aware, really, and most alive, I know this. I know he is worth my life. Yeah, I chuckled at that guy who kept asking his wife, "What's for dinner?" all the while unaware that he was the one who was not hearing so well. But sometimes that's me, and sometimes perhaps that's you. But deep down, I know this is true. The words of Jesus, astonishing and true, are worth it. He's amazing. I love him, and I love his way. I do.